Okay, I accidentally clicked the video off. So, and I didn't even wear the t-shirt deliberately. It just happened to be just exactly one of this. As I was drawing this, I was realizing, oh my gosh, I'm wearing that t-shirt. So that I made this with a t-shirt paint. And that's just art. I didn't even try to draw a mitochondria or something, or an amoeba. But, those are the first multicellular organism, and then here's the amoeba, and the amoeba is like the white blood cells. Those are kind of like amoeba. So, and all of these things and then evolved, and they live inside of the larger organisms to help us. This is a whole conglomeration of cells and stuff that's going on, that lives in us, that is part of us, that I can almost say about myself, we, and I tend to do this sometimes. I say we, this entire conglomeration of life, okay, that I am, that you are, It's amazing what's happening in there. So that's why we have to feed ourselves, right, We have to eat raw food, raw plant food. That feeds this. Okay, if we eat animal products, you can go. I have my notebook in front of it. You can go past. So if we eat, sometimes people needed to, the nomads and stuff like this, they did a lot of exercising. The Native Americans did a lot of exercising. They needed, their bodies needed to exercise, okay? Many of them aren't exercising anymore, and they still eat the high-fat animal sludge food. Okay. What happens then is the heart is overworked, the liver is overworked, they end up on the operation table. And this is my warning to those people. You have not evolved to be living a sedentary lifestyle. Okay. I say that I'm fat too, right? But some people are much fatter, and their hearts will stop at some point, okay? I told my friend Rosa from Rosamelia Martinez, my best internet friend before long time ago, before I met Sandy even. I was friends with Rosamelia. She had a white Great Dane. She was living in Colombia, and we were friends on the internet. And when she was swimming every day at the university, she was studying, and when she was swimming every day, she was, I think she was 250 pounds, and 5'5", so already way, way, way overweight, right? I'm just guessing now. She looked like about beautiful woman, right? But like 250 already, that's very hard on the heart. But she was exercising, so she was dancing, doing all kinds of things, and so that was good, right? She was still, I don't know, I have not seen her anymore. I don't know what's going on. She moved to Spain. But later on, she gained more weight. After she quit the university, she graduated with lots of accomplishments and praise, and summa cum laude and everything. Very intelligent, very amazing woman, lawyer. And I hope she's doing well, right? But she gained more weight, and I kept telling her, watch Christina, that raw food Christina. She's also from South America. Raw food Christina she was living in the United States for a long time, and raw food Christina is a petite, skinny lady, okay? Healthy, really, really, really healthy. Raw food vegan. I told Rosamelia, watch her videos. She didn't want to hear about it. she didn't find that attractive. Okay, yeah, maybe Christina is a bit on the skinny side, eating only raw food, and she eats a lot and does not gain weight. You can't get fat on raw food, for sure. It's just power for the cells. And she healed all of her health problems. Raw food, Christina, all of her health problems. And so did John Kohler, who makes videos on YouTube. Also, his channel is called Grow Your Own Greens. Okay, they were both very sick, and they healed everything on raw plant food. Okay, that's a fact here, right here. So, yeah, I mean, if Rosa would just do half of what raw food Christina does, she could save her life and her heart, right? So I hope she's doing well. I love you, Rosa, wherever you are. Okay, I sent you sunbeams of love, and I sent her one of my art sculptures. And so what happened then? Many millions of years later, gradually, the first worms came into existence. Very gradual process, like the amoeba became larger, moved more, then had different shape, was able to contract and expand, more muscles, okay, inside of the body, the outer, the epidermis contain more muscles. If you watch an earthworm, you see how they move themselves forward. Very, very amazing. Just the other day, at the other house, I picked up an earthworm, a very large earthworm, because we live fully green. We do composting. That's the right way of living, by the way. Okay. And I see all kinds of bugs and interesting worms and stuff like this. Just the other day here on the lawn, I found a very, very thick, like this long and this thick as my little finger up to here. It was curled, and it was green like the grass, and it was on the grass. And I was grounding myself in the dark. I had my headlight on, and suddenly I see this worm. But that worm had like sucker-caption on one side, so sort of like that's already a caterpillar. I can walk like this, but also with muscles. But the first worms, they didn't have any sucker-captions or like sucker caps or whatever, that would attach themselves onto other surfaces or feet or anything. So they were just like the amoeba, but longer, and then they were able to contract and expand. So they were able to move faster. They grow bigger, of course. You can see them, of course. An amoeba is so small you can only see those under the electron microscope. But then, they grow, and then through evolution, through mutation and all of this, they become larger, and they become worms and all of them. Then out of that, the first fish, that had fins, actually, that were actually moving themselves faster with pedals, like, boat pedals, propelled themselves faster, and had more chance of eating other stuff. And so all of this happened. And now I have this enormous thing here, so that where you can really see this entire thing. But it's like, it's very rudimentary, of course. If you look into a biology book, they try to bring a schematic of this, where you can see approximately how these things evolve. But I noticed that a lot of school books are they're not very contextually related. I noticed that was a lot of school literature in general. It's not that context related. And that brings things out of context for people when they are learning. They get confused. So this already is very confusing here, but that's why I want to explain this. So it starts here. We have this enormous lineage, right? All the way to a human. I deliberately made this lineage where it branches this way, down up to here, and the other one this way. And then we have many that go off like this, or off to this way, or they go off either side, okay? Branching off. Like a tree branch, but, of course, that's a schematic. This tree branch of this is a schematic in order to explain how they evolve. This is very schematic and abstract more. Things evolve in all directions, all the time. It branches this way. This is trial and error. Many of them don't make it, many of them don't survive, they don't pass on their genes, and the ones that are successful pass on the genes, they proliferate themselves, okay? We have here from the first amoeba, then we have the worm, okay? This is a lineage, all the way to the octopus. This starts like we have a common ancestor with all of these people, with every animal, every single animal. Our common ancestor was him. Is very, very early. Is like pre-worm, I would say, almost. Or maybe the very first flatworms. The very first underwater flatworms, flukes, as they call them. That's our common ancestor with the octopus. So from there, the lineage for humans moves this way, the lineage branches off this way for the octopus, from that fluke. So here's the fluke, more evolved fluke from this one, then more evolved from that, they grew tentacles that work better to find food. Yeah, very, very gradually, over millions of years. Okay, and then parallel. This is really parallel. This is hard to draw all of this onto this one chart, right? So this is a parallel development to our development. So the development here of Pachycetus, for example, the whales branched off from that. Pachycetus is not on our lineage, but we have a common ancestor. Right there where Pachycetus branched off away from us. We branched off from the pre-Pachycetus. But the pre-Pachycetus is also our ancestor. Right here somewhere. The first, this one here. The pre-Pachycetus, some kind of like a mole type of, underground digging dinosaur with hair, right? Like the very first mammal, probably gave birth to an egg, but the membrane of the egg was already more like the placenta. Placenta is basically the eggshell, but it's a soft. It's not hardened like in birds, right? This is the bird here. The bird, I did this wrong here. The bird evolved from this, but also goes sideways. And this evolved a different way from that. So the bird is not on our lineage. The bird branched off from an ancestor that we have with the bird, which was a small dinosaur. So it branched off into birds from the small, very small dinosaur, maybe like this, and then branched off into our lineage, into rat type of animals. The first underground mole type of root eating, digging animals. A mole, like there are moles that look very interesting. They have a mouse that is fanned out, like has nappies on the nose, stuff like this. They don't have eyes. They live underground. So these nappies, they feel themselves forward. So they're all about their brain processes touch. So they touch themselves through the earth, basically. And they have claws and they dig themselves through also. But they touch and taste everything with these tentacles on the nose. So all of this, we have a common ancestor with those. So most, so there was some kind of pre-mammal, mole, dinosaur. They grew hair. There was an ice age. The ones with that had hair that survived. The ones, they had to be small. They had to fit into crevices. The large dinosaurs became extinct because it's a dinosaur lineage from a common ancestor that we have with the dinosaurs as well. So they branched off and they became extinct because the real big guys, they didn't make it through the meteor shower, the meteors that came down, that then those meteors, what really finished them off was the ice age that was created from that meteor shower that was happening. Enormous onslaught of meteors coming onto Earth. That can happen anytime also. I mean, that happened, like I already explained in the beginning here of the Earth formation. There can always be something like this bombarding the Earth again and merging with the Earth, right? So that can finish off an entire group of animals, like the dinosaurs that were also very, very versatile in DNA. So many different types of dinosaurs. But there was one dinosaur that survived. There's a little dinosaur, a little reptile that survived, that went into crevices and caves, that went into hot springs, and it stayed in warm caves and stuff like this. Or some of them grew hair, So, yeah, and there were many different types of these pre-mammals, pre-birds, and so on. Okay. And then from the primordial mammal, which is right here, one of them branched off into the dinosaurs, and the other one kept going in this direction to become a bird, and the other one went into the direction of becoming a rat type or a mole type of they branched on many. People don't understand. They think it's some kind of like it morphs itself. No, branching in all directions, in all kinds of forms of trial and error. The ones that find a niche where they survive, they will survive. They will pass on their genes and they will survive in that particular ecosystem and become what they become. Underground animals with the tentacles on the nose, gnawing animals that eat my rose roots, right? Animals like this, I love all of them. So then some of them become hedgehogs, some of them become porcupines, all kinds of different pre-porcupines, pre-hedgehogs, right? Smaller, more rudimentary, with soft so-called knobbies on the body, but that already gave them protection. And then in time, they grew some nail stuff on the knobbies, and more and more and more and more in one direction, this direction, that direction. Okay. So some of them grew scales, like the armadillo. So the armadillo is really that's a very rudimentary animal. I believe they live in Australia. The armadillo shows you basically in this entire body what the pre-mammal or the very first rudimentary mammal looked like, the primal mammal looked like. More like, not like the armadillo, but something that goes in that direction. Okay, so very interesting, where you think, some people think, oh, what is that, an insect? Is that a reptile? No, that's a mammal. They give birth. They nurse their babies, armadillos. Okay, and they have an armor of keratin, like the nails, on the outer surface, and like a knight has an armor, so it protects them. That evolved. It's evolution. It evolved because it turned out to work very well to protect them. So then they proliferate that DNA. Okay. And then it keeps going on, branching, all these branching. I'm talking now about the human lineage. So at some point, there was, past the dinosaur limb, they have branched off here. So, and then they haven't even made it this far. It hasn't even gone this far yet. It was during the Jurassic era. So there were the dinosaurs and just tons and tons of those pre-mammal animals who lived side by side with some pre-mammals. They were reptiles too. They laid eggs, and then maybe at some point, maybe just before the meteorites came, there was a pre-mammal, a reptile, who gave birth to a baby that's still wrapped into a soft placenta. Okay. Came out with the placenta. And with the umbilical cord and all of this. So, and I think some mammals, the baby still has some kind of like a skin a little bit around themselves, which is also placenta. And the placenta then becomes more and more membrane, and so, and then until, of course, it's a gradual process, until this is a birth of a baby without placenta, without egg or eggshell or anything. So the birds go in one direction, so also past the dinosaurs, from the rudimentary, from the little dinosaur. And then on that lineage of the human, there were then these ground animals, and they became larger. Some of them became very agile, and they were able to climb onto trees. Okay, that's on our lineage, the tree climbing ones. And tree climbing rodent type of animals. Rats are very good tree climbers, by the way. I observe them all the time. They're not exactly they're not exactly like, we're not exactly from monkeys or rats. We're from a common ancestor from all of them. Okay, we have a common ancestor with the monkeys. We have a common ancestor with the rats. Okay, so at some point it kept going in the human direction. The rats then branched off. They stayed small. Okay. Some of them became opossums and all kinds of different, and from that lineage of the rodent came all kinds of other ones. Came the Pakicetos, so Pakicetos came out of one of those rodent type of animals, which is the Pakicetos, like a sort of like a pre-otter also, like a small dog, the size, with large feet and with fins between the toes. They were living in Pakistan and they were eating fish. They were fish hunters, and then they went into the water more and more. That was a survival mechanism also. And they had to come to the surface to breathe, of course. The nostrils were still in the front. And then, if you can watch the whale evolution, there are amazing videos on YouTube. It's absolutely fascinating. I can't draw all of this exactly, but then from the Pakicetos evolved also into many different branches, of course. But the lineage towards the whale has this approximate morphing. Okay? It's not morphing, it is trial and error. Okay? I have to always emphasize that, because people seem to misunderstand how evolution works. Trial and error. Okay? Mutations, very gradual process. Right? So they grow larger, right? More fins, the legs get shorter, the tail bigger, longer, propelling them forward. The legs become shorter and shorter. At some point, they're just fins on the side of the body, right? With an enormous tail that propels them forward, and then they become the whale. At some point, they stay underwater for, I don't know, for an hour before they have to come back to the surface. The nostril has moved all the way to the top of the head. Okay. The nostril there will be water going into it, into the nostril. That also has to do with buoyancy. They balance the buoyancy out with that. Once they come to the surface, they spray a fountain of water out as they breathe out, so that breathing hole on the top. And then they breathe oxygen in. And then they gather that, and they can go back underwater and live on that oxygen, that one breath, for like an hour. Okay. So then they're completely waterbound. That's a dramatic evolution that has happened there. Okay, absolutely dramatic. So then, this is not really, okay, they're obviously, Pakicetos branched off from here somewhere, and then the cats branch off in a different direction, right? And the primordial horse branched off in a different direction, but from the cats, then it goes up like this, to the lion, I guess. And then from the primordial horse goes up into all kinds of different animals. Pair-hoofed animals, one toenail hoof, that the one toenail, all the other toes receded, kind of like with the whale, they receded to the side. There was only this one toe with the big toenail then in the horses. That gave him an advantage of galloping, of running very fast. So they had 4 fingers in the beginning, so gradually evolved into pair hooves, into one toenail hoof, and then you see the one toenail hoof becoming enormously large, and then galloping like this with that kind of movement, very, very fast. So evolution, that's the ones that were fast survived, And many, all these different branches, branch, okay, and then the human here from the tree climbing rodents, they became lemurs very gradually. The lemurs, then the very first lemur type of monkeys, like those cobalt monkeys in Madagascar. Those are also they're not on the line, they're side branches, but we have a common ancestor with them, of course, which is somewhere around here. And then more complex monkeys from that, millions and millions of years in between, okay, and then took a very long time until the first primates came into existence that stood up, were able to walk on two legs, but not all the time. They were still climbing into trees, and then they stood up more and more, and then finally weren't. The arms were receding, as with my arms are kind of short already. My toes are actually short. So this is already an evolution. So the fingernails also become shorter. My little toes, there's almost no nail. There's almost no more keratin on it. So that's an evolution. So who knows where this is going to go? So that can evolve to not having any toenails at all. So, and the toes also becoming shorter because we don't need to grab onto anything anymore with our toes. So evolution keeps going. It doesn't end here. That's a guarantee. Okay, so this is where we're at right now, but it keeps going. Okay, eventually, if we don't finish ourselves off. Elon Musk, the modern day Noah, is trying to protect our lineage, our species. People better appreciate that. So he wants to make us multi-planetary in order for us to make it through. Whether we make it through or not, that's another subject to discuss. Whether that is a necessity, I doubt. There's no need for it. There is no need for the human species. We don't need to exist. Planet Earth will continue, but what we're talking about here is that humans are destroying life on this planet, not just their own species. They're destroying many species. There is a mass extinction happening now of different species that have lived peacefully side by side with the rudimentary, even with the hunters and gatherers that were not that far in the past. They were already looking like this. So, but now the modern human experimenting with warfare and biological warfare, virus creation in laboratories, nuclear fusion, nuclear reactors, Chernobyl, Fukushima, causing species to become extinct, overfishing, mass greed, overfishing, overhunting, overlogging, clear-cutting of forests. Very, very dangerous what's happening here on this planet. Wars, with weapons of all sorts. What they did in Vietnam is an atrocity. They bombarded them with something that was called something like Agent Orange, a pesticide. Oh, unbelievable. What were they thinking? This is our planet. They were destroying massive patches of Vietnam rainforest and vegetation. No wonder they were furious about the United States, okay? Who can blame them for that, right? I mean, but it just keeps on going. They don't learn from their mistakes. They don't seem to be learning from their mistakes. And then maybe there are very, very, very few modern humans that are even more modern than the modern human, that have evolved from the modern human. Friedrich Nietzsche talked about this already in the 1800s. He said that the evolution keeps going, He was waiting for the superhuman to evolve. What is the superhuman? It's really not just a particular human that he was talking about, but he was thinking about that too, of course. What he's thinking about is a different mind state that he was hoping for that could evolve. A mind state of recognition. Hey, we're on the wrong track here. The bus is coming towards us. Let's be smart, let's be intelligent and step out of the way. So that's what he meant, the superhuman, in terms of a process of mind development, of recognizing our own mistakes, looking into our own minds. Friedrich Nietzsche loved the Buddha already, so he saw a kinship to him very early on already. And the Buddha was the embodiment of the infinite cosmos in human form. Okay. The infinite cosmos shows up here and there in a form. This goes beyond science, what I'm talking about right now, and people will call me crazy, but this is what's going on in my mind all the time. I'm thinking about this, but of course this is not the end product here. Okay. It will never end. This here can also evolve back to this. It can also evolve into this. It can also evolve into this. It can into the dinosaur. It can evolve into the whale. If you give this enough time and the necessary circumstances, the necessary niche of environment and survival, it can't be bombarded with a different environment right up front. No, a gradual shift in the environment will bring a shift in evolution for this here as well, into any direction. It can also go into what we would think as being reverse, right? But it's still not reverse. It's still a movement forward. But it can become like this again. The brain can also recede, so, or it can evolve into any of this if you give this enough time, or, most likely it is going to evolve into many different other species again, as all these others have done. This will branch off into many, many, many different ones. I see a trend happening right now with the human species where this is zipping into two species. Not according to race, as some people will probably accuse me of. I know that's how people are always thinking. They think out of their unempowerment and stuff, and their group thinking and all of that. Insanity. People are causing themselves insanity with that. It's very sad. No, this has nothing to do with ethnicity. The human is splitting off into I don't know how to call them. into workers and intellectuals. So if we want to bring it to the most, I don't know, the most cartoonish way of explaining it, but it's more complex, of course. But yeah, that's basically what's happening. The human is splitting into workers and intellectuals. And I talked to workers, and I struggled with them. I said, why do you want to do this to yourself? Why do you want to watch competition sports and make yourself even dumber, right? Why don't you read books and become smarter, right? Your brain can also become smarter during a lifetime too. If you train your brain, it can expand. Okay, so what do you want? What would you rather have? You want to stay a corporate slave? Or do you want to empower yourself and become smarter? It's up to you. Do you want to continue to drink alcohol and ruin your life? Which is basically a slow suicide. I see in the chat room people get it completely reversed, all of this. They view not taking drugs as a slow suicide. It's exactly reversed. If you're on drugs and alcohol, you're doing a slow suicide. You're causing brain cell death. You cause all kinds of problems. You cause liver cirrhosis. That will do you in. You need your liver to be healthy. You need to eat raw, live food, plant food for your liver, okay, to detox. You need to take clays. You need to take diatomaceous earths to get rid of all of these weird, different parasites. I take these things every day. I take this diligently. I know the importance of this. This is not something you can play around with. I have studied this rigorously. I've studied this on my own body. I'm very serious about this. I'm very, very informed about holistic healing. I would say I'm one of the most informed people on this planet. And I'm not saying this, I'm not someone who brags. I'm not saying this lightly. When I look around me, there are not very many people who are very, very crystal clear on this. There's a lot of influencers, there's a lot of health food people, but they don't go this far as I go into all of these different thought directions. Okay, and seeing this entire picture from above, and seeing the entire thing from the sky perspective, our health, everything, how we evolved, and so on. So I'm not like the ultimate health guru or something. By my own example, as you know, I weigh 225 pounds, I'm 5'9". I like to eat Toblerone, which is not exactly on that health food plan, and sometimes other terrible cakes and stuff like this. But my main food consists of power food that is whole food vegan, and I crave live plant food. I like to eat salads every day. Okay, I should eat more of it, and I highly recommend it to people to do this. It will also make you smarter. Okay. So then that whole thing was peer pressure and the different groups and all of this, that goes into another whole direction. I talk about this all the time in my videos. I just wanted to map this out for you in these two videos, how all of this ties in with one another. Okay. By the way, octopus are equally intelligent to humans, branched off from a fluke worm. So they're completely flexible. Because they live in the ocean, they can be totally flexible, right? They can fit through tubes and stuff like this. Even the brain is flexible. There's only one thing that has a hard shell, and that is the beak. They have a beak inside, with which they crack things open. So that has to be like a nutcracker type of thing, in order to eat. So, but that beak is kind of small compared to the entire octopus. So whatever they can morph their rubber bodies and stretch them wherever the beak fits through, and a bit more, of course, of their rubber body. They can tube themselves into long tubes. They're very, very flexible, rubbery. Okay. And the whales, equally intelligent to humans, but not only that, there are some whales that are more intelligent than humans. So I just want to put this into perspective here. People are they're very centric. They're very anthropocentric, human-centric. They think they are the center of all species, or they're on some kind of pedestal. No, he is. Okay? And who knows how intelligent they are. They may also have some of them that are exceeding the human brain. So not just in terms of brain size, but in terms of body-brain ratio. Okay, and they found that in the large whales, they're way, way, way more intelligent than humans. Some of them, like the blue whale, the macrocephalus, and some others. Okay. So that are way more intelligent than the human, and they have not just way more of the spindle cells, they have a larger percentage of spindle cells in their brains. The spindle cells are those neurons that their function is to process abstract thinking, abstract thoughts, not just connection to something we touch or taste, or something more rudimentary, or some other thought that is rudimentary, but no, abstract cognitive processing. Okay, so they have a higher percentage of that. So that puts things into perspective. Don't go out there hunting whales. Don't kill any more animals. That's my message to the world. If we want to protect this ecosystem, if we want to protect the wealth of what Mother Earth has given us, with all of our cousins, these are our cousins, these are our friends, these are our babies, okay? We need to protect them. We have a responsibility with legs, arms, hands, and this fairly intelligent brain. I say fairly, okay, because there are some that are smarter, but fairly intelligent, more intelligent than him. Okay, so we have a responsibility as that. These are they are proteges. Okay, here, the protege, the dogs and all of those. Pakicetos, and the dog is somewhere in there. So somewhere in between those. So all kinds of different species. They are proteges. We are their caregivers. Okay. We have we have a brain that processes more, so that makes us responsible for them. We're also responsible to take care of those that are smarter than we are. And the reason why is because with this combination of a body, we can create tools that the other ones can't. Even if they're smarter, they can't create tools because they live in the medium water. They don't work with gunpowders. It won't work, right, in water. So their IQ works with other things, with echolocation, with communication. They have communication skills that you cannot even wrap your mind around. okay? They're psychic. They have psychic power in their brains, okay? They have humongous brains, huge brains, like way bigger than our brain. I think like 6 or 7 times the cortex, okay, of a human brain. So can you imagine what's going on in there? What kind of things they are processing? The echolocation communication, sonar. They sound out something, a sound. It reverberates back, they process that entire thing in form of a picture, in form of a video. They can create videos in their brains and they echo them out. They sound them out, not echo. They sound these images that they can even create. They can create videos in thought form. Like you film something that you see. They can create an animation video in their own brains and then sound it out to the others and communicate in pictures and videos. And the other people, the other whale people, they will know the difference between someone's animation video and reality. But it's a form of communication. Can you imagine how complex that communication is? That's enormous. What they can convey to the other person. If we spoke to each other in video form, we're already trying to, right? But if my brain can instantly create a video and convey that to you. So it's a little bit more complicated for us to do that. But people are getting slowly to that through animation technology and all of this. Then we can convey something, one picture substitutes 1,000 words. Literally, this is the case with the whales. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's all evolution. Those are parallel evolution. They're really on the same. Here we are. The whale is at the same and even further developed, and he is probably further developed as well. Elephants are equally intelligent to humans. I've seen unbelievable things. I won't fit in the video right now, but I talked about this before. I made videos about this, the elephant baby. Maybe I'll talk about this again, and maybe tomorrow. I'll see. But I just wanted to map this out as good as I possibly can. But the evolution is not ended here. It keeps going. Okay, the human keeps evolving. It can evolve into any direction, like I said, or we can evolve into two species, which is happening. We can evolve into the intellectual. Some people have already, okay, Elon Musk, just to name one, okay, and certain things recede, like toenails, brain gets bigger, okay, and the arms get shorter, as is the case with my arms. My legs are also shorter than I guess most people, or the average person. My torso is longer, so that's evolution. What you don't use or what is not necessary for survival, it just gradually recedes, or it shapes itself differently. It becomes thicker, and whatever works, I have a lot of Northern European in me. And I would say I have Mongolian, the Northern Europeans, they have some Mongolians that have Mongolian nomads that have moved up there, and their extremities, legs and arms, have receded a little bit. And the torso has become bigger because that helped them to retain heat in those cold climates. So all of this happening, and we zip into 2, and the one group, the workers, will then stay not just in their mind state, but even evolutionarily, biologically, move more further and further into this other animal. We are animals. The intellectual is an animal too. We are mammals. We become two different mammals, and at some point, if they move far enough from each other, they will not be able to procreate with each other anymore. So then they will be completely two separate species. But that will take a long time. That takes a couple more millions of years, of course. But this species, the human, doesn't even have 50 years left here, on this planet, in the speed of environmental destruction that's happening. Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk, scientists, biologists have predicted 50 more years, and at the pace of destruction that's happening, caused by humans, can cause mass extinction, including the extinction of humans on Earth. Okay, so that's why Elon Musk wants to move to other planets. Okay, and now just working on Mars and the Moon, because those are the closest. But they will go beyond too. Of course they will. Now we're also creating machines. And that is where my great hope comes in, okay, with the machines. So maybe this prediction, this extrapolation into the future, into the next 50 years from now, maybe this destruction will be stopped by the machines. And if we don't get the machines, they will finish themselves off. Ben Goertzel talked about this in an interview. He says, yeah, the machines can also finish people off. But if we don't get the machines, people will finish themselves off for sure. So it's a guarantee. So the machines are really our last hope. Okay. There's always a risk in everything. This is the next leap to take. Okay, you guys take care. Bye-bye.